we will start with, what are your career goals and how will your PMP certification help you to achieve those goals?
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am a breast cancer researcher, so I manage a research lab at University of Tennessee Health Science Center. I also have an administrative appointment where I manage our core facilities that have large capital equipment. And so what I sought out the PMP certification for was really to help me manage those sort of projects, what kind of equipment to buy, who would it serve, how do we price it, that sort of thing. But I've also realized from being in the course that I plan my grants sort of waterfall style, but I end up doing them more like an agile mindset. So it's helping me think a little bit more about my own research grant execution once we get funded.
Excellent.
Great. All right. So how effective did you find the training in helping you prepare for your exam?
So I thought it was very effective. When I was taking the course, I would think, oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then I realized after my gap between that and my test, which was about 3 months, that I needed to go back and actually look at the material more closely. But I did make sure that it followed the exam content outline. And I found that the practice questions were very helpful, especially the descriptions for the answers and the rationale for why one answer over the other was the better choice, even though, a couple could be feasible. And I also found the case study to be very helpful and the slides to be really well organized and not too much information on one slide. So the way I prepared for the test is I did the RefineM questions first, and then I went back out and bought the PMBOK guide, which helped me focus on what was going to be on the exam. And then I also purchased a version of the study hall on the PMI website. But I think doing the RefineM questions first helped me be able to do a little bit better on the study hall questions as well. And then I used a couple of other resources, a couple of apps, and a visual learning guide that I found. So I kind of took a broad approach to it, but I started with the RefineM materials, and I actually found that I probably didn't even need some of those other resources. In fact, I found the PMI study hall to be much more difficult questions than that were actually on my own exam. So I was a little bit worried after doing those questions, thinking, oh no, maybe I shouldn't take it. But the RefineM material would have prepared me, but I was just trying to go to as many resources as I could.
Yeah, and we found that the same too, that the study hall tends to be like a little more difficult than the actual exam. That's the trend of what we've been hearing.
Right. So I think I probably could have done without it, but it made me feel more comfortable, to use it. But I also found that I had never even heard of Agile or thought about it before. So doing that sort of mini review that came with the RefineM course before we started talking about the slides, and then answering the questions and talking about those with Phillip really helped me get into that mindset of thinking before even the course started. And I did find that a lot of questions, I would say at least 40%, if not more, on my exam focused on Agile. So I found that to be really helpful.
Great.
All right.
That's awesome. All right. So then how strongly on a scale from 1 to 10 would you recommend this course to someone else? 1 being you wouldn't recommend it at all, and 10 would be that you would highly recommend it.
Well, I would say, I would highly recommend it. So I'm a kind of person who needs the structure of a course, because otherwise I'll just say, oh yeah, I'm going to study that, So I found it to be helpful not only for providing structure, but also for hearing from other people about how they apply these concepts. So I would have missed out on that if I hadn't have done the group training. And also Phillip did a great job in answering questions offline and during the course as well. And even after the course ended, he answered a couple questions for me, and he also was flexible. I missed a few training sessions and helping me go over the material one-on-one. So I think, it was a great value for what was provided, and it made me feel comfortable with the material because I've never really, had this sort of project management requirement for a part of my job, right? It's helped me think about my own career in a different way. But I was not familiar with at all the various process steps. So for me, that I have an MBA, so I was more familiar with like people in business. So what I really focused on was the process and the order of which all of those processes should occur for optimal project management.
Awesome.
Well, I'll just add too. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go for it, Phillip.
Oh, I was just going to add too. Yeah, it's great to have you in class, Tiffany, and I'm glad we were in a good position to help you during and then after the class with anything you needed. That's what we like to do, just support you every step along the way.
Yeah. And it was very convenient. I don't know if all of your courses are at night, but, I could get my full day's worth of work in and still do the course, but it wasn't so late that it interfered with, anything. The timing worked out really well for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything else that we missed that you want to add or any other feedback you want to provide?
Let me check my notes. The only thing I had was maybe a suggestion. And, I know we mentioned a lot of different kind of software platforms, and I wasn't really familiar with those. I think I have access, for example, through my work to Microsoft Project, but I don't know how to use it at all. So maybe even just like a little bit of training about how you would use these software tools, because they seem kind of overwhelming at first. Yeah. That could be helpful. I know it's not part of the exam, but it might be helpful maybe as an add-on or something to actually learn how to use some of these tools.
Yeah, and we have some Microsoft Project train. It's not like part of the PMP exam scope, but that's something we could potentially work with you and give some training on.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much for the feedback and for your time today.
No
and
problem.
Congratulations again for passing your exam. That's so
Oh
exciting.
yeah, I'm super excited about it. So do you guys offer anything that would qualify for the PDUs for that component?
Yes, you should have, in fact, let me check, but I think you should have access to our PDU bundle. If not, I can get that to you so you can look at some of our past webinars and trainings and like get some PDUs for those.
Okay. All right. So I'll take a look at that. I was so focused on just passing the exam, I haven't really gone back and read through all of my emails. So I'll do that.